Welcome to the Chronic Pleasure Podcast, where we talk about all things pleasurable and some of the things that might get in the way. So, my name is Karen Lorre, and I've been living in a state of chronic pleasure for 12 years. So, a lot of times, um, people can be prejudiced. Um, the way I'm prejudiced, just to put it out there, is that I think everyone is valuable and beautiful and wonderful and perfect and divine. But a lot of people have a different type of prejudice that they experience. Some people are marginalized by prejudice. My name being Karen, I'm becoming one of those people who other people are making fun of or being angry with or being resistant to. It's not happening to me because I have learned how to never be bullied. But I do know that there are other people who are named Karen who are having challenges. But that's just a whole um, little thing compared to the challenges that people might have if they've been marginalized, for centuries because of their race, because of their culture, because of their sexual orientation, because of their age, because of their religion. There's so many ways that people can be prejudiced against other people. And I wanted to talk about how to get out of that trap if you are one of those people who's being prejudiced against, or if you're one of the people who are being prejudiced. First of all, I know that everybody who is born is not prejudiced. Nobody's born with a negative idea about someone else. Everybody is born with this pure love. But in the last 3 months of being in your mommy's belly and in the first 6 or 7 years of life, we are getting subconscious programming. So if you happen to be in a culture or a family or a school or a church or a community or a neighborhood or a city or something where there is prejudice, you will be fed information that won't serve you. I want to first talk about the dangers that happen to the people who are prejudiced in a negative way. Because when you're prejudiced, what happens is you're shutting off the love that you are. It's like you're taking the poison, hoping someone else will drink it. Because any negative feelings you have about anyone else hurts you. It might hurt the other person as well, but it hurts you more because you are living in that negative emotion. You are living in that state of prejudgment. When I was a little girl, my mom, when I was very little, 3 or 4 years old, took me to get a doll. And she said I could pick one doll. And we were in a toy store, and I remember the dolls, or I think I remember all these dolls up against the wall. And the doll I picked was beautiful, and she was the size of a little baby, and I loved her. And she had beautiful brown eyes that opened and closed, and she had black hair, and she had black skin. And I loved this doll. Her name is Sasha. And I loved Sasha, and my friends had Barbies, and I did not want to play with the Barbies. I wanted to play with Sasha. I felt a kinship with her. I loved her like she was my child. Of course, I was such a little girl, so I didn't know what a real mom was like, but I knew I loved this Sasha. And I didn't see any difference as a child between me and that doll, except for she was plastic and cloth, and I was flesh. But there was no difference to me. And my mom encouraged that understanding of appreciation of diversity. My mom grew up Greek, and in her culture, the Turks were someone that they were prejudiced against. And so she had grown up being prejudiced, but she'd also been a teacher. And been a teacher in Wisconsin and in Los Angeles, where she saw lots of different kinds of kids from all different parts of the world. And she really appreciated the diversity. And that's something that she taught me, was to appreciate how precious everyone is. And I've amplified that in my own experience because I've been living in this state of love And what's amazing to me is that everyone feels like they're my family. Doesn't matter if they're from a different country, they speak a different language, they have a different look, they're taller, they're whiter, they're darker, they're whatever, their sexual orientation is different. I just feel this kinship, this connection with everyone. And it's kind of funny because, you know, I walk around and everywhere I go, I'm like, because I think that person is my kin, my brother, my sister, my family. And so I'm walking around feeling this connection and this love for everyone, recognizing that everyone is valuable and everybody is important. But what do you do if you're someone who's been marginalized, if you're someone who's been prejudiced against? And what do you do if you're someone who's prejudiced and you don't want to be anymore? Because it doesn't feel good to hate people. It's one of the worst things you can do for your health and for your mind and for your life. Hatred begins. Hatred brings more hatred to you. Love brings more love. So if you're somebody who is being prejudiced against, as a woman, I had some of that, not very much, but some of that, until I realized that I didn't want to be a victim. Before I realized that, I had a victim mentality. So I was constantly letting people into my space in a way that didn't feel good to me. And then, as I started to become more and more in touch with my spirit, and as I grew more and more in this state of love that I've been living in for 12 years, I began to value myself and value other people, respect myself, respect other people, recognize that I'm important, that you're important, that I'm valuable, you're valuable, that I'm divine, that you're divine. And as I experienced that, everyone began to treat me with more respect, more value, more understanding, more kindness. And I have clients. I love my clients. I love my clients so much. I have clients from all different walks of life. Currently, I have a client who's from China, and there's been a lot of prejudice against Chinese. And I helped her navigate that so that she could feel valued and important and watch how the world began to treat her differently because she saw herself differently. Nobody can be prejudiced against you when you see yourself as good enough, as valuable, as important, as precious, as a divine being. I've seen my client who is Israeli and who is in a synagogue be prejudiced against. And then I've watched him as he's gotten my coaching become empowered and to have this sense of self, this confidence, this charisma, this worthiness and this value of it for himself. And people are now treating him with more love, more kindness, more grace, more respect. I've had Black clients who also had been marginalized. And then as they grew in their own self-esteem and their own self-value, as they became more respectful of themselves and their needs, everyone else started to treat them like that. And I had an experience right after George Floyd was killed. I was in the grocery store and I saw a man there who was Black, and he had this beautiful, peaceful smile on his face. And I said, "How are you doing? How are you doing with all this racial turmoil?" There had just been a big protest right near where I was shopping the day before. And he said, "You know, my mama always raised me to know that I'm valuable. And even though I'm Black, no one's ever treated me with disrespect because I've known my own value." And we sat there, well, we stood there in the refrigerator section of the grocery store talking. And I really understood what he was saying, because prejudice, it comes partly from the people who are prejudiced, but it also comes from the mentality of thinking that other people are prejudiced against us and then devaluing ourselves. And so, what I would love to suggest is that instead of that, we start recognizing you're important, I'm important, you're valuable, you're precious, you're beautiful, you are worthy of respect, you're good enough, you're so lovable. And as you feel that, as you practice feeling like that, and as you experience yourself with a different level of confidence, which might change your posture, you might stand up taller, you might speak more clearly and more slowly, you might breathe deeper, you might be able to look people in the eyes. And when you see that in yourself, others will see that too. And when you trust yourself, others trust you. And another thing that I do is I engage with everyone. I meet everyone's eyes. People can tell I'm smiling, even though if I'm a place where I have to wear a mask, I'm wearing a mask. But they know I'm smiling. And they smile back. And if I say something, I'm speaking from my heart. And it's always something that is a praise or a compliment or some appreciation. And so I elicit from people this kindness back, because that's what I'm sending them. And so they treat me with respect. And then when they find out, let's say in my case, that my name is Karen, they don't even see me as a Karen. And my experience with every person that I meet is that their color is beautiful, whatever color it is. It's the most beautiful color. And do you know that none of us would be visible if we didn't have pigment, if we didn't have color? We'd be invisible. So our pigment is a gift from God. It's a gift from the divine. And whether you are someone who has been being prejudiced against, if you recognize that you can do anything, you can be anything, you can have anything, and that you are the creator of your own experience, and as you change your own understanding of yourself, the world will change and shift in a good way. And if you're someone who has been prejudiced, I invite you to open your heart. I invite you to recognize that you were taught things that just were wrong. It's not the truth. Every single person is valuable. Every single person is divine. Every single person is a gift and important and someone to be respected. So, again, my name is Karen Lorre, and thank you for joining me on the Chronic Pleasure Podcast. You can learn more about those subconscious beliefs in my third book, which you can get at chronicpleasurebook.com, chronicpleasurebook.com. Thank you so much. I love you.